Hello and welcome to this demo video of the Dannysound Timbre.
Timbre.
If you're American, timbre.
Timbre.
Or timbre. If you like being daft like me. Let's check out what's to come in the video before we get into it. Timbre is a 6 HP versatile wavefolder, and I say versatile in that we've got plenty of CV to interact with this, mixer at the input and a dry wet stage for parallel processing. I really love parallel processing anything. Now working top to bottom, we have two inputs labelled Oscillator 1 and 2. Now of course you don't have to plug an oscillator in there, we'll experiment with different inputs. And we blend on this little mini pot oscillator mix, and that's our output right up top too. The actual timbre control, the wavefolder amount is the big one, as you'd expect. We then have an attenuator and a CV in for that. So we can invert and attenuate or just attenuate our CVs. We have a symmetry control, again with CV, and a blend to take us from dry wet for that parallel blend, again with CV. So the timing index is on screen if you want to skip around. You've just seen in those patch previews at the start the kind of range of patches we're going to get out of this thing. Do skip around as you see fit, or grab a brew, watch the whole thing, and of course check out the other Dannysound oscillator videos in the description too. Let's get into it. So let's check out the sounds and features of Timbre. And that's a sine wave straight out of this EN129 there. Blending across the folded tone, let's just do some nice slow sweeps. Symmetry control. Let's look at folding two inputs. We'll take the Cali OSC into the second input. Just blend 50-50 there. That's my input, and then the folded version. Let's tune up to a different interval. So that's just some sounds. Let's get into some patches. So here's a patch using all of these Dannysound modules under some envelope and sequenced modulation. Now I'll listen to just the EN129 and its saw wave. So you can hear the sequence, saw wave straight into one of the channels on this VCA. And there's some little accents pushing and pulling the decay on the envelope to this VCA. Now here's the output of Timbre. Percussive, really transient rich with that envelope modulation, nice metallic overtone. And my second input is the Cali OSC, tuned a lot higher. This has also been audio rate wave shaped by the sine out from the EN129. Bit high and aggressive, but just blending a little bit in with this triangle wave. Gives us a nice high overtone and that little bit more for the folding to kind kind of chew on. Mixing that with the saw wave in the VCA. A really rich, dynamic, sequenced sound. So here the timbre is a kind of brutal saturator compressor kind of effect. And it's not as brutal as it could be. I can really push that folding, but this kind of parallel smack and slap is coming from here. Now if I blend across, here's my dry input, rather low level because I wanted to hit it a little bit lower. Just a blend of 606 drums just looping round and round. But where this got really exciting was using an inverted envelope follower over this beat and turning the fold up. So the actual fold amount is lower when the input signal is higher because that envelope follower is inverted. And this is why we're getting compression-like behavior. And blending some of that in with the dry really fattens up those beats. Now if you're into ambient drummerless doom metal, this may be the guitar fuzz for you. This is my guitar into a simple DUT for input module. That's the input to timbre, and I have the envelope follower from my input module to the CV. So of course this is already dynamic because it's input dependent, this wavefolding, but with some additional boosted dynamics by using the envelope followed input to the CV. That's what's allowing for those clean tones to pass, but then when I dig in, let's audio rate mod it. So here's the triangle wave from the Cali OSC into CV, and my envelope follower into symmetry. Makes even those kind of softer dynamics super weird as well. So although the timbre isn't listed as a CV shaper, we've of course got to try it out. Let's blend over to the full amount of sine wave input signal. This is my input, the green trace. Output is the yellow trace. So it inverts the behavior. I can blend across to the wet sound. And you can see we don't really get much pass through of this CV, but once we start to fold it, we get some interesting wave shaping. We could mix a bit of audio signal in, say the sine wave from the oscillator that we're listening to. It's just an oscillator through a bandpass filter, and that's what this yellow trace and the output is actually affecting. Sine wave from our sound source. Oof. Into symmetry. Now of course we could modulate the blend, the symmetry, the actual fold amount itself. So in this patch we're going to explore audio rate modulation. Now the top input, the green sign there, is the Cali OSC into the timbre, and the yellow output is the output of the folder. The sign from the EN129 is the blue trace, and that's what we're going to use to modulate the fold amount. Here's a quick folded tone. Now these are near enough in sync, in perfect tune with each other, so as I bring up the audio rate mod, you can see in here that bit of movement, but it's near enough unison. Let's bring up the tuning of the EN129 that's just here. And much like FM or AM synthesis, quite easy just to fine tune these into nice tuning ratios. Now where this gets really interesting is when we actually put our audio rate source through a VCA first. So here the sine wave is through a VCA. We can see that moving around on the scope now, and that's what's going into this CV in. Kind of the equivalent of striking a low pass gate. We're modulating our modulation amount and then striking this fold with this percussive, now moving dynamic audio rate source. Of course, symmetry has a nice effect. So rather than sending an envelope into folder mount, think about sending some audio rate mod through a VCA, then hitting that CV input. Now, how many of you are wavefolding your reverb? Not enough. I'm sure not enough of you are wavefolding that goddamn reverb. And that's what we're doing here. Just starting to get that clicky fuzz. Just backing it off from clipping. And from dry input to folded version. It's like compression, it's been boosted, it's been lifted. But of course we can modulate the folder. Say to get tremolo-like effects. Or up at audio rates. Get a little bit kind of ring mod-like character to the background there. So here we're going to look at modulating the folder with the same oscillator. So my input here is a sine wave. I can blend over to that. On the oscillator mix, this single input, it's the sine wave from the EN129. That's the green trace on data there. Now I want to modulate it and mix in to oscillator 2 other waveforms from the same oscillator. That's the whole point of this patch. So on this kind of orange cable, I have the ramp wave, same oscillator, exact same tuning. Let's try that into the CV for the folder mount. Lots of interesting kind of like tearing, ripping kind of sounds. And of course we could mix it at the input, and here's what's folding the ramp sounds like on its own. Could blend that with a sine. Let's try the thin pulse out on the EN129. Pretty good into the CV fold because it leaves the negative portion of that wave alone. Or of course, mix it into the input. And we can't fold a square wave or a pulse, but we can have some blended in. Let's try that ramp into the CV again. So here I'm just using the timbre as a basically kick machine or kick processing blending machine. It'd be great for performance. Now my patch is some 909 hats, a tuned down sample of a kick and some muted sidechain reverb. Let me kill the other sounds. I'm playing with the envelope follower amount, the amount of folding and the blend. gives me a big wide range of sounds. This is feeding this sidechained reverb. Hats. And there it is, my kind of little live kick processing machine out of the timbre. So here's a drone patch looking just for maximum animation. Now I'll blend over to just the Cali OSC, non-wave shaped normal output. There's a sound. Now mixed LFOs to the fold. Blending across there so you can hear it. Sorts of different smooth mixed LFO modulation. LFOs into blend. And symmetry is actually this noise source. You can hear me mess with it, or see me mess with it rather, to the left here. This filtered noise source. And that's being modulated, giving us these noise kind of crunch. You can really hear it there. My second input is the ramp wave out of the EN129 through a VCA, and it's a nice way to use the two inputs. One of them be dynamic in its amplitude that's changing, and one of them be static. I'm going into the music thing modular spring reverb, bit of PT delay. So that's it for this video on Timbre from Dannysound. I hope the video has been useful and shown you some non-standard ways to make the most of wave folding, as well as of course the glorious folding of oscillator waves. Check out other Dannysound videos linked in the description. Leave a comment, support me on patreon.com/DivKid if you wish, and cheers for watching. I'll see you next time.